Coming up on First at 4, the effort to further lower Kentucky's income tax moves forward in Frankfort. And President Biden gave his State of the Union speech last night. We'll show you the 3 biggest moments that have people talking today.
Plus, showers continue tonight. We could see some rumbles of thunder as well. That breakdown straight ahead as Mountain News First at 4 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, a move to lower Kentucky's income tax further advanced in the state capitol today. The issue has already passed the House. A Senate panel easily passed the additional 0.5% cut this morning. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what took place in the committee meeting.
There was very little debate in the Senate Appropriations and Revenue Committee meeting this morning, and in the end, this measure passed by 8 yes votes and simply 1 Democrat who decided to pass. The bill sets in place the 0.5% cut that took effect in January and also next year's further 0.5% cut. The income tax will drop from 5% to 4%, and it will likely go down even more from that in future years as long as certain financial triggers are met. The goal is to eventually do away with Kentucky's income tax entirely. Part of that revenue is being offset by new sales and service taxes. But opponents say for every 1% of cut you're reducing $1 billion in state revenue, and it's going to be too tough to make up for that. Proponents say that it's smart to return money to those that pay it.
My concern about the continued reduction of the income tax rate is that the formula on which the cuts are based is static, backwards facing, and based on a single year.
It was not a hasty piece of document that was proposed. We worked through lots of iterations to get to the right place. The safety valves are built in such a way that I'm confident that we will be able to sustain the growth of the economy in Kentucky.
The bill now goes on to the full Senate, and that vote could happen as early as this afternoon, and it is expected, like in the House, it will be voted on and approved largely among party lines, Republicans being for this and Democrats being against it. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Phil, thank you. We'll have more about this tonight at 6. The City of Hazard and the Perry County Fiscal Court have been approved for more than $41 million in grant funding, but that money is not in their bank accounts. City and county leaders tell us once a grant is given to the city or county, there are certain requirements they have to meet before money is released. Hazard Mayor Happy Mobilini says patience will pay off.
Things got backlogged so much during the pandemic. You know, a lot of these grants were awarded during that time, and just things are moving slowly. But I think within the next 2.5, 3 years, you'll really see an improvement.
The city and county's grant writer says one of the requirements is an environmental review, or how a project will impact the environment. She says that alone is a 60 to 90-day process. It's now been more than 6 months since the flood, and many disaster relief groups have left the area. But RISE Disaster Relief and Recovery, based out of North Carolina, has still been on the ground helping folks in Breathitt County. The director of operations says the need is still great in this area, and that is why they are still here to help.
We did the demolitions and the cleanup initially, but now we're starting to do recovery, helping people put up sheetrock, put up insulation and such to try to get them back in their homes.
He says they want to remind Eastern Kentuckians that they have not been and will not be forgotten. WYMT's Olivia Calfee will have more on the group tonight at 6.
Continuing to watch a mild and overcast day throughout the mountains. The good news, we haven't seen a ton of shower activity, but the windiness, that becomes the headline as we head a little bit later on into the forecast. Here's a look outside right now from Buffalo Mountain here in Perry County. 59 the current temperature. It is mild and it is overcast. Here's the view from, well, we had the view from downtown Hazard, or from our studios here at WYMT. I promise it's not nighttime out there. It is still cloudy, upper 50s to near 60. That's most of us upper 50s to low 60s region-wide. A few cooler numbers into portions of Southwest Virginia, East Tennessee. Winds right now are okay, But you see that at the bottom of your screen, that wind advisory we've got in place, in effect for everybody. This kicks off at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and runs for most of us through the evening. We'll have the possibility of winds upwards of 40, or wind gusts to 45 to 50 miles per hour as we head into the day tomorrow. It's something we have to watch very closely. We've seen a few scattered showers around the region, but the main action continues to be off to our west. So planning out the next 12 hours, temperatures remaining steady and actually rising a touch overnight with partly cloudy skies and temperatures staying on the mild side. Details in a few minutes on when we return to the, let's say, showery weather potential in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. President Biden addressed a divided Congress last night, urging Democrats and Republicans to work together to, quote, finish the job. Our WYMT Washington Bureau reporter Molly Martinez joins us now with 3 major takeaways from the State of the Union address.
Tuesday night served as a victory lap for Biden's first 2 years in office, as well as a roadmap for the remainder of his term.
Speaker, I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to working with you.
Number 1, collaboration is key. It's critical for him to have a working relationship with Kevin McCarthy and Republicans in the House to avoid legislative priorities ending in stalemates. Despite the olive branch, he didn't back away from polarizing topics, which leads to number 2.
Ban assault weapons now.
In what is one of the deepest divisions between the two parties, Joe Biden doubled down on the gun debate, calling for an all-out ban on assault weapons. It wasn't the only political pushback he received during the course of the 73-minute speech.
I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals.
During a particularly tense back and forth, Biden states some Republicans want a sunset on Medicare and Social Security. It drew the sharpest rebuttal of the night. The third takeaway is what wasn't said. While he hasn't indicated whether or not he'll run in 2024, there are contextual clues. He and the vice president are hitting the ground running after this address, visiting key battleground states over the next few days, including Georgia, Wisconsin, and Florida. In Washington, I'm Molly Martinez.
It's definitely a more fiery President Biden than usual. Senator Mitch McConnell offered his comments on the State of the Union address using a study that he read that may reflect the public's belief in the direction of the nation and highlighting some of the problems the country is facing.
Only 13% of the American people thought the State of the Union was strong. That means they don't like the way things are going. The border's open, crime is rampant, inflation is through the roof. In fact, the only thing that's come down lately was the Chinese balloon, thanks to our great military.
McConnell also remarked that Sarah Huckabee Sanders did a great job in her response to President Biden's State of the Union address, and that he is proud that she's part of the Republican Party. Coming up on First at 4, an uptick in dangerous migrant crossings is increasing the risks for trouble at sea.
And despite showers potentially, it's a mild day throughout the region. Details on when we try to get out of that coming up in a few minutes.